There we go. Oh, wait. There we go. Now, a lot of you are wondering why my face is really close. Sorry about that. I'm holding my tripod that I use to do Two Nerds One Comic in my lap, so it's a little uncomfortable. I'm going to show you guys the world tree, or at least a diagram, and this is more based on actual Norse mythology, Viking mythology, if you will. And this is just kind of like, you know, how all the 9 worlds are connected. Now, this does not, by the way, my tripod is really squeaky, I am aware of that. Sorry that it grates you guys' ears. But I'm going to try to not switch too much in between this and all the other pictures and stuff that I have, and also in some of the other videos. But anyway, I'm going to tell you guys, that's pretty much what the world tree represents. The world tree basically connects all the 9 worlds of Asgard. Now, to get down to the nitty-gritty of everything, now, luckily I got a Wikipedia right next to me, as you could tell from the previous video. Now, when the world was created, basically, hold on, sorry. Yes, I am using Xbox Live Photo Party, for those of you that actually care to know. Now, when the world was created, Ymir, who I will show later, who is one of the villains, basically, I'm not going to get into the backstory of Odin and all of them. I'll get to those when, you know, I talk about the characters themselves. But basically, one world, there was basically 2 polar opposite worlds that were created. There was Niflheim, which was a world completely covered in ice. Now keep in mind, this isn't the actual Norse mythology. The diagram I'm showing here is just, this is like the actual mythology. So most of these right here are just, don't pay attention to any of this. This is just like background stuff, if you will, so that way you guys don't complain that there's just a black void or you're staring at my face for hours. But to go really quickly into it, Niflheim is a world created in ice, and it is ruled by Ymir and the Frost Giants. Now, on the complete opposite of that spectrum is Muspel or Muspelheim, which is a land covered by volcanoes, lava, and fire, and it's where the fire demons reside, and that's where Surtur, that's where Surtur resides at. And on the very top, like it does show in this diagram, this is one thing that is true, is the 2 things that are true is that Midgard, our world, Earth, which I'm not going to get into that because let's face it, you all know what Earth is. But apparently Midgard, as you can tell, it's like the epicenter. And if you've watched the last episodes of the first season of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, you'll already know this. But to those of you that haven't been able to, basically our world, Midgard, interconnects all these other worlds of Asgard. And Asgard itself is right there at the very top. And basically this is where Heimdall and all the other Asgardians, including Odin, kind of keep a watch over all these other worlds, including Midgard. Because Asgard, think of it as the Emerald City, you know, from The Wizard of Oz. And it's got kind of a gothic architecture, like medieval-esque type feel to it. But yeah, it looks like a sprawling modern metropolis. You know, at least in some ways. But it's got more of a medieval-esque type feel. And pretty much the gateway to Asgard itself is through the Bifrost or Rainbow Bridge. And you'll see what I mean when I talk about Heimdall, who will be the next person I talk about, you know, after this video and after I mention all of Thor's villains. Or at least some of them. And okay, so pretty much I talked about Niflheim and Muspelheim. Now, then again, there's Helheim, which they don't talk about. They just refer to it as Hell, or the realm of the undead. This is where Loki's daughter Hel kind of resides over the dead. Think of her as like the Nordic version of Hades in Greek mythology. It's where basically all the spirits are judged to either go to Valhalla or not. You know, so she's in a sense kind of a Lucifer-esque type character. And then scroll down here a bit. Now, let's see, there's Alfheim, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. For those of you that actually know Nordic mythology, you know, I do apologize. I'm probably going to severely mispronounce these. But there's Alfheim, which is home to the Light Elves. There's of course Asgard itself. There's of course Hell, the land of the dead who are either honored or dishonored, who are run by Hela. Of course there's Jotunheim, home to the giants or the Jotun, but that's more towards like Niflheim. Some call it Jotunheim, others call it Niflheim. You know, it's a moot point. There's Midgard, which of course, you know, I don't need to explain that. And then of course there's Muspelheim, run by demons, which is ruled by Surtur. There's Nadia or Nida Volur, I think is how you pronounce that, which is home of the dwarves. You know, the dwarves are of great craftsmen. These are the craftsmen who basically they take the metal Aru, which is only rare on Asgard, and this is basically where Thor's, you know, hammer Mjolnir was crafted. Now, for those of you that, you know, want a little bit of a trivia fact, Thor's hammer Mjolnir was actually forged within the body of a dying star. Yeah, I know. A little bit messed up. But, let's see. Going back to what I was saying. Actually, it's kind of cool. But that's a moot point. And of course, the Aru metal composes of the entire, like, almost sentient armor, the Destroyer, which I'm gonna kind of somewhat briefly talk about. And then let's see, there's the way that I heard it in Ultimate Avengers, it's Scuttlebim, but it's actually pronounced Servidolhim or something like that. I can't even pronounce it. I feel very embarrassed. Savertelheim. I'll just call it Savertelheim for now. I'm really sorry to those of you who have to stammer through my dyslexia and mispronouncing stuff. I really am sorry. But that is home to the Dark Elves. And then there's Vandaheim, which is home to the Vanir, who are basically a sister race of the Asgardians. And they are basically in a sense like oracles and prophets. They foretell the future, you know, of Asgard and where it's possible. As I was saying before the video cut off, they are basically fortune tellers, and they are a sister race of Asgard. Basically tell the future, all that stuff, yeah. Anyway, I've rambled on about, you know, the 9 worlds and everything. I've pretty much given you guys enough information, and if you're confused, you know, just do a little bit of research, read into some stuff. But I feel that I pretty much covered at least a good majority of the bases, and also I think you guys are, I'm sure, are getting tired of staring at this thing and being confused by the diagram. But like I said, this diagram is just the actual Nordic mythology. This just kind of explains how the worlds are supposedly linked together. Now this isn't from the actual like Marvel comics, this is from the actual Nordic mythology. I'm going to keep drilling that into you guys' head. This is from the actual mythology. This is not from the comics. But this just kind of explains what the world tree, how it's assembled.